Usually, if a spouse wants a solution, you're going to ask for it. You know, I mean, I feel like that's the way that's going to work.
Well, every time I say something, you give me a solution. So what does that? No, I didn't ask for it.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
I guess I'm failing in this area.
I'm kidding. I'm just joking around people because he doesn't do that to me. But
this week on Marriage, Life, and More, we continue our series on marriage reset, roommates to soulmates in your marriage. We're going to be finishing up episode 6 this week. We'll be back with that right after this. Welcome to Marriage, Life, and More. This is a podcast about marriage, Bible, and book studies. We interview people that have inspiring stories. I'm Daniel Moore, your host, and sitting over here next to me is my awesome, beautiful co-host, my wife, Michelle.
Hey.
Thank you guys for joining us this week. If you're not familiar with our show, check out our website at marriagelifeandmore.com for our platforms. Our YouTube and Rumble links are there. We're also on the Christian podcasting app Edify, and we're also on your Alexa and Google smart devices. You can also visit us on social on Facebook, Instagram, and X at CT Gap Online. If you're a fan of our show, please subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment on our platforms. Give us a thumbs up or a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, and we'd be grateful to you for doing that. Well, last week we started off a really awesome discussion, actually, on being alone, being married, but feeling like that we're alone, feeling like that we're living in separate lives, even in that marriage. And we covered a lot of good territory. This week, we're going to go ahead and continue that and finish up that episode. And that episode is episode 6. And the title of this one is Living Alone Together, Separate Lives. There's an old method used to trap monkeys that illustrates an important truth. Hunters take a small container or jar with a narrow neck just wide enough for the monkey to fit its hand through when open. They place something shiny or sweet inside, something a little irresistible. Once the monkey grabs hold, its fist becomes too large to pull back out. Refusing to release the prize, it stays stuck. Now, the trap doesn't physically restrain the monkey. The animal simply won't loosen its grip. Well, we can fall into the same trap in our own lives. We cling to patterns, beliefs, or emotions that end up keeping us stuck. And even when they're hurting us or our relationships, we struggle to let them go. That was exactly my experience. When Michelle and I started feeling lonely in our marriage, I didn't respond with understanding. Instead, I got defensive, which I'm really good at. I withdrew emotionally, feeling like I was failing, not just as a husband, but as a provider and a father too. I was already discouraged from the collapse of my job, and now I felt even more inadequate. Looking back, I realized I had my own version of that monkey trap. Pain, pride, and shame, and I was holding on to it. I wouldn't let go out of fear and self-protection. A verse that can help you gain clarity in situations like this is Psalm 4:4. And that scripture says, "Be angry and do not sin. Reflect in your heart while on your bed and be still." Rather than letting my frustration push me further into isolation, I needed to slow down and honestly evaluate what was fueling my withdrawal and my sadness. That moment of self-examination became the first step toward healing. So what is your monkey trap? What is it that you are clinging on to that's holding you back? Just like me, you might be carrying the weight of an old wound. Someone hurt you deeply and you haven't been able to release the pain. In other situations, living disconnectedly can stem from your family background. Maybe you grew up without a healthy example of a close, united marriage, and you've never seen how partnership and emotional connection really play out. Without that model, it's hard to know what interdependence really should look like. You could also be in a relationship that feels emotionally or even physically unsafe. Whether due to frequent arguments, sarcasm, criticism, manipulation, or harsh interactions, walking on eggshells creates a distance. And for some couples, the disconnection grows simply because there's no shared vision. You may never have created long-term goals together or imagined what you both want your life as a couple to look like. Without purpose and direction, a relationship can quietly drift apart. So it's important to distinguish between temporary seasons of distance and long-term disconnection. Short-term disconnection often has a clear reason. You may have a newborn, or you may have a stressful job transition that takes place, or maybe you're caring for a loved one. But those situations and those seasons usually pass. But over time, lack of clarity and unresolved issues can create a vague, ongoing separation. So what is it that you're holding on to that's keeping you stuck in that place? Well, as we start off this episode this week, we're going to take a moment to consider if it could be maybe one of these things that we're going to share with you. And Michelle, I'm going to have you share the first one here.
Self-reliance. Are you fiercely holding on to your independence? Growing up, maybe you had to fend for yourself, so it's hard to depend upon someone else. Your belief might be, I have to do everything myself because I can't trust anyone. So you convinced yourself that you shouldn't depend on anyone.
So I see this a lot in people that get divorced and then they're single for a while. And when they get remarried, they have a hard time giving up that independence, I guess is the word I'm looking for, because they've for so long have done things on their own.
Yeah.
And they've taken care, especially if it's a single parent, they're the ones that's ended up with the children. So now by themselves for several years now, they've been raising the kids, they've been feeding them, clothing them, getting them to school. They've been doing everything to take care of that family unit. And so when the time comes, especially I think the longer it goes that you're single, the worse that can get, because you can really feel like you just don't need anybody else, but yet you do. You want to get remarried, you want to have that spouse and that relationship, and you think everything's going to be great when that happens, but all of a sudden you finally walk down that aisle, you get remarried, and then you can't let go.
Yeah. And
it's like you're pushing the other spouse out all this time. I can do this. I don't need you. I've been doing this for 5 years. Why do I need your help? And it's something that's usually unintentional.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times the spouses don't realize that. And honestly, I think we had some of that, especially with me. I think
single. More you than me.
Yeah, I was single for 5 years. And I think there was a disconnect that happened in our marriage, I think, that kind of reflected that in myself. Because when I came into our relationship, it was hard for me to let you become involved in me and who I was, because I was holding on to the single stuff, the single traits that I had. And so that trap of self-reliance can keep your relationship from growing.
Yeah.
I mean, what did it do to ours? It eventually separated us.
Yeah.
That was one of our fights. That was one of our arguments, because I would not let you in. Many times you would want to be involved in things. You'd want to be a part of my world, but I felt like I could do it all. And I didn't see any reason to let you get involved. And so I think that whenever, that happens, and like in our situation, when that happened with us, how did that make you feel when I tried to do it all and never would let you be a part of it? What did that kind of strike up inside of you in your feelings, and how you felt about our relationship and our connection?
Me because I always felt like I wasn't good enough.
And so with that being the case, it makes that relationship hard to grow.
Yeah.
Basically. What's the next one?
Secrecy. Are you hiding past abuse, financial missteps, infidelity, a past mistake, or ongoing sin? Secrets require some degree of disconnect. To keep a secret concealed, you have to compartmentalize your heart and keep that part hidden from your spouse. Otherwise, the risk is that a close connection might expose your secret.
And boy, do we know about this one. What's the one thing that you used to always tell me when we were married, when I was very mysterious? You always told me that you felt like I had a secret in a closet somewhere.
Yes.
This deep, dark secret that I was not telling anybody.
Oh, as I'm reading this, I'm just like thinking of I'm like, wow, this is hitting home. This is just really a lot that, yes.
Secrets are not good. Secrets are part of what destroyed Michelle and I's marriage.
Whether it was on your side and my side,
Yes,
both. So,
from both sides.
Yeah.
And if you refer back to episode 199 of mine and Michelle's testimony, you'll hear a lot about some of the things that went on in our relationship when we first got married. I felt like I was ready to get married. I love Michelle. I wanted to be with her. I wanted her to be my everything. And so I kind of finally got to the point where we got married and everything. And then I decided I was going to let her have certain things and not others. And, she didn't know that. And there was things that I was keeping secret behind her back. And as those secrets start coming out, it actually can get kind of worse, because then the other spouse, I know many times you're thinking, well, what's next? What other secret are you keeping? It's like, it's almost hard to empty that closet once you start emptying it, because especially if, a secret comes out and then you go for a while and you think everything's fine. Oh, there's another secret. Now that one came out. And then you go for a while, there's another secret. How many secrets do you have in your closet? That can really cause a lot of issues.
It goes into the next one that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, go ahead.
It talks about emotional walls. Well, emotional walls are brought up, especially if you have secrets.
Yep.
But it talks about, do you avoid intimacy or have difficult time connecting emotionally? Do you have high, thick walls to prevent getting hurt? Love is risky. Maybe you grew up with parents who were neglectful or abusive. Perhaps you've really had a bad dating experience in the past. As a result, it's hard to open up and trust that spouse will be there for you. And I think that's what I did, is I brought up walls because the secrecy that was coming out, I was like, all right, what's next?
Mm-hmm.
And like you were saying, you bring up those walls and it's so easy. I think sometimes as women, I think it's easier to put up walls and kind of just have a little bit of your wife and not a whole lot. And it's because you don't want to get hurt.
Yeah.
Or you've been hurt in the past or whatever.
Yeah. And then it ended up pushing you into having secrets.
Yeah.
Because
big secrets.
That emotional those emotional distractions that we had, and that distance that was created because of the actual relationship that both of us had between each other, ended up separating us, because we really just couldn't get to the core of who each of us were. You, especially at the beginning, me. You couldn't get to the core of who I was because I was holding back. And, I had my monkey trap going on there. I was grabbing onto that stuff and not letting go. And so before long, because it went so long that it happened, it ended up pushing you away, which you created those walls at that point. And that's when it starts getting very dangerous, because it's hard to come back from that when you get that far into it.
Well, then you're basing everything on emotions.
Yeah.
And emotions are not good to go by.
Yeah. And I think, too, it starts putting a spotlight on us, because then as the individual that's being kind of kept outside the door, they're starting to think, where do I matter in this equation? Why am I not important enough to know what's going on? And, whenever all that kind of thing starts happening in your mind, then it starts playing mind games with that person. Mm-hmm. And, it's going to take a lot more for that other spouse to prove themselves.
Right.
If they do decide to let the secrets all out and just clean their closet, it's going to take a while to build that trust again, because you have that trust issue that's involved in that as well. There's so many things that wraps around that whole thing. People a lot of times don't realize that you're building a building when you do that kind of thing. Every story is another emotion or another issue that you're going to have to fix later if you continue to let that build.
It's good.
You've got this 7 or 8 story building standing there now with trust and discontent and lies and secrecy and all these things that can be built up over time.
With multiple doors.
Yes, you have to bring all that back down again.
That's a good analogy.
You're going to fix it,
Yeah.
And so you can just create something monstrous if you're not careful, that's almost hard to overcome. And in all reality, a lot of it isn't overcome until we bring Christ into it.
Right.
We have to allow God to work us over. So what's the next one there?
Addiction. Are you clinching firmly to an addiction? Behaviors such as workaholism, drugs, alcohol, eating disorders, pornography, or shopping can monopolize your time and requires distance from your spouse to maintain the addiction.
And this one here is really self-explanatory.
Yep.
Anytime you have an addiction in your life, it's going to automatically affect not only you, but everybody else around you.
That's right.
A lot of times these people that are addicted, they think, well, this is just my problem. This doesn't affect anybody else. This is just me that's got this issue, and I'm the one that's got to deal with it. I'll fix it eventually. It's all going to work out. It's going to be fine. But they're not seeing the whole big picture of what's going on outside that circle that they're keeping themselves embedded in with that addiction in their life. And it's actually affecting, because there's people out there that actually love you more than anything. And the last thing they want to see is you go through something like this with an addiction or a life-controlling issue in your life that you can't seem to get control of. There are people out there that really love you and want to help fix that. And the more that you push them away because you're saturated in your own little circle here with everything going on in your own life, and you don't want to fix any of it. And it's usually just a gradual downgrade in your life, because it's going to affect you in the long run. It's going to become so bad that it's going to literally define who you are at some point.
So good.
So it does affect everybody else. It's not just you that's affected in that, especially in a marriage. If you have an addiction in a marriage, you're going to push a spouse away faster than anything if you're not careful when they have to continually deal with a pornography issue or drugs or alcoholism, whatever it may be. Spouses can love you tremendously with all their heart, but they can only handle so much of that hurt and pain that's going on in your life, because when you're married, you share that pain and everything in your life with your spouse. They live in that same home with you, and they see everything that you're going through. So addiction is another thing that may be your monkey trap that you're not letting go of so that your life can get better. Go ahead and share the next two with us.
FOMO. Are you snared by the fear of missing out? If you are worried that you may miss something exciting, then you prioritize everything and everyone else above your marriage. Denial. Do you refuse to confront a lingering problem in your marriage? Maybe you're afraid to rock the boat. The fear is if you peel back the layers of hurt and pain, you won't survive. Your marriage will end. So it's easier to avoid the issues and live separate lives rather than facing whatever caused you to detach in the first place. No matter what the specific reason behind the distance in your relationship, keep in mind that most people won't stay in a lonely marriage forever. Don't ignore the warning signs or hope that time alone will heal things. It's important to take this seriously and make a move toward resolving deeper issues. Your personal trap that keeps you stuck. A one-off date night or a short vacation won't fix the foundation.
And so these things are just a few things.
Yeah.
There's many other things that can
Absolutely.
be your monkey trap. It's up to you to figure out what that is. And it's not that hard when the other spouse is trying to tell you what it is.
Yep.
The people that are around you can usually see the problems that you have within yourself because they eventually come out.
Yeah.
And not to be in a criticizing, attitude towards it, but if you really truly love someone and you see somebody that's hurting, that's going through a lot of emotional turmoil in their life, and you want to help fix that, you eventually have to call that out.
Right.
And you have to try to walk through that season of life with them to try to help fix that issue and make things better. So if any of those things resonate with any of you guys out there that you've been wondering, why is my marriage not moving forward? Why am I having all of these issues? Maybe think about, what's trapping you in that spot you're in right now? It's got to be something that you're holding on to or something that your spouse is holding on to that's creating that issue. And you have to figure out how to pry them fingers open and let that thing go.
So good.
And so that you can get loose from that. And for us, change didn't happen for us overnight.
No, not at all.
It took time, effort. And
a lot
overall,
of hard work.
It took God's hand. I mean,
Absolutely.
If it wasn't for Him, we wouldn't be sitting here right now. And, I began to heal from my depression, my sense of failure, and slowly our family relationships and marriage were mended. And as I began to let go of what was weighing me down, we both made the conscious decision to build new patterns that brought us closer together. And all of you out there that are going through stuff like this, that's similar to what Michelle and I have been through, or maybe it might be a little bit different, but the end result's still the same. You guys can do the same thing. Start by identifying what you need to release. And then begin introducing small intentional actions that encourage connection and closeness in your relationship and your marriage. So start with your own monkey trap issues, and then add in behaviors that create togetherness in your marriage. So as we move on into the togetherness part of this, Michelle, won't you go ahead and share that with us?
Remember Jeff and Lindsay from the earlier in the episode last week? Over time, they've grown apart, living alongside each other more like roommates than partners. A recent moment shows how disconnected they've become emotionally. Lindsay had a rough day working as a trauma nurse in an emergency room. Frustrated and exhausted, she told Jeff. A teenager came in after a car wreck and nearly didn't make it. As I tried to stabilize him, one of the new doctors started shouting at me to move faster. Even though we were working with a tricky IV setup, I did everything I could, and she just humiliated me in front of everyone. Jeff's response didn't help. Well, why didn't you snap back at her? You should have told her to back off and do it herself if she thought she could do it better. Lindsay, clearly hurt, replied, "Seriously, Jeff? I just wanted to talk. It's like you don't hear me at all." Jeff tried to explain. "I was listening. I just need you to stand up for yourself more." But Lindsay had already walked away, feeling more alone than ever. When partners live emotionally separate lives like this, it can feel isolating and painful. But the silver lining is that the reconnection is possible if both are willing to invest the time and effort. Think of the pair of roads on the horizon appearing to emerge, even if they're still separate tracks. With dedication, couples can move toward emotional closeness again. That kind of emotional connection hinges on being emotionally available to one another. Dr. Sue Johnson, the creator of emotionally focused therapy, one of the most evidence-backed forms of couples counseling, puts it simply. The key to keeping love alive and reawakening connection is the emotional responsiveness. The core idea, being emotionally there for your partner, is what truly sustains meaningful relationships. In her book, Hold Me Tight, 7 Conversations for a Lifetime of Love, Johnson breaks this down into 3 essential ingredients. Capture the acronym of A-R-E. A is for accessibility, R is for responsiveness, and E is for engagement. These traits help answer that unspoken but crucial question partners ask each other. Can I count on you to be here for me? When that question is answered with confident, consistent presence, relationships grow deeper and more secure.
And here in a second, we're going to go through those 3. But I see this issue quite often, and this is a communication thing, where the spouses, when they come in and they want to vent, it's a natural instinct especially for guys, if it's the wife that's venting, the guys want to fix the problem.
Right. Or tell you how
to fix it.
I was going to say, it's more like tell you how to fix it.
Yeah. And women are not wired like that. That's not what they're after when they come in. No, we just
want to hear. Let you be like, oh, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, they just want some emotional interaction with what's going on in their life right now, and some reaffirmation, some reassurance that everything's going to be okay. And, the first thing that us guys, the first instinct we have is to make a comment like Jeff did there. Well, you should just tell them what for and just tell them to get on down the road, and just start telling them all these things that they need to be doing, when more often than not, the guy probably wouldn't have done that either to their boss. So it's not like, they're telling you to do something they would have done in the first place as well. So we have to understand how we need to communicate with each other through these things to avoid having these emotional disconnects and cause this separation between spouses. And so as Michelle was reading there, she was talking about the acronym R as accessibility, responsiveness, and engagement. So the first one is accessibility. And what that is actually referring is, can I reach you? Being accessible in a relationship starts with recognizing your partner's attempt to connect. an emotional invitation, even if it's small or subtle. It means being mentally and emotionally present and responding with openness. When Lindsay began describing her tough experience at work, she wasn't just recounting her day. Lindsay was reaching out. She was signaling that she needed support. Being emotionally available means tuning into the emotions behind the words. Often, when a partner is upset, the surface level emotions like anger, stress, or irritation are easy to spot. But underneath, those are more vulnerable feelings like shame, insignificance, rejection, or inadequacy. Emotions that take more awareness to recognize. Accessibility involves welcoming both the visible and the unspoken emotional layers. Rather than dismiss or fix these feelings, being accessible is about staying genuinely curious and conveying. Even if I don't fully relate to your emotion, I value and I accept it. Here, Jeff missed an opportunity when he jumped to advising Lindsay instead of validating her emotional pain. Imagine if he had responded to this way. That must have been awful to be criticized like that in front of everyone, instead of trying to provide a solution. This type of statement shows that he's emotionally present. He could then dig a little deeper and say, "It sounds like you really felt disrespected and small in that moment." You know, these kinds of responses acknowledge her emotional reality and invite a deeper connection. It's like saying, "Can you help me understand more and how that affected you?" Lindsay, like many people, is perfectly capable of handling a conflict. The complication in the relationship is that both she and Jeff rely heavily on their independence. They're used to managing problems on their own. But emotional connection isn't about solving each other's problems. It's about sharing the emotional weight. When we become emotionally available, we create space to carry part of that load for our partner. A healthy relationship involves coming alongside one another in difficulty. As shared in Galatians 6:2, we're encouraged to carry one another's burdens, those emotional weights that are too heavy to shoulder alone. Whether it's the shame of being publicly criticized or the stress of daily struggles, emotional availability is how we truly support one another. Jeff had the chance to help carry the emotional burden that Lindsay carried home with her. That begins simply by being emotionally accessible. And goodness, this is a tough one because this is so hard to not do. Whenever your spouse is hurting and they're having a bad moment, and I mean, I'm guilty.
I was getting ready to say, there's times you'll come home and say stuff to me, and I'm like, well, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And we both laugh it off because it's like, I know. It's like, but I mean, it's hard not to do.
Yeah, it's very difficult not to do that.
That one's very challenging.
Yeah.
Even in our marriage today, that can be challenging.
Yeah.
But we both know each other. I mean, we know we're going to support each other no matter what. And then I like how she said, or what was it, where he used, it sounds like it felt really disrespected in a small moment of, can you help me understand more about how that affected you? I mean, I don't know that I really say that when you come home and just kind of debrief on me.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel? I think I'm going to try that from now on so you can share your feelings with me.
I mean, usually if a spouse wants a solution, you're going to ask for it. I mean, I feel like that's the way that's going to work.
Well, every time I say something, you give me a solution. So what does that? No, I didn't ask for it.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
I guess I'm failing in this area.
I'm kidding. I'm just joking around people because he doesn't do that to me. But
no, I try not to.
No.
It's kind of one of those things where as you talk to someone, you have to kind of read the in between the lines type of thing, I guess is the best way to put that. Because it's real easy when somebody that's special to you or important in your life is going through a crisis and they come in venting about what's happened and what's going on and all this, it's gave them a headache and they're feeling bad and whatever. Our first intuition is to jump right in and say, well, I'm just going to help you solve this whole problem right here and now. But in all reality, especially from the women's side of it, that's not usually what they're asking for.
No, and if we really have something like that, it's always with our kids.
Yeah, most generally, yes. That is a big one, especially if they're younger. Yeah, that is a tough one there because that is a issue or a problem that needs a solution. And so
Not always.
it's real easy to just jump into fixing mode.
Again, you have a mama's heart, and you
Yeah.
have, daddy's heart that's more firm, and it's like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, difference and reflection on what's going on and how to handle those situations. But I think a lot of this is just conversation, really. We just need to try to understand each other as far as when these conversations take place, what is it exactly that is needed in this moment?
Yeah.
And to carry on this conversation and to try to help affirm each other and to make each other, feel confident in who they are and what they've done. This, I'm sure, made Lindsay feel very unconfident in herself with a doctor yelling at her and, kind of this negativity that was placed upon her. I'm sure that messed with, well, I know what I'm doing. It's like, am I really failing at this? Like, I can't insinuating that I'm failing or what's going on, And if that does not get fixed at work, then she's going to come home and talk to her spouse about it. And that's the husband's spot at that point to reaffirm. And, here Jeff should have reaffirmed in Lindsay that, hey, you know what you're doing. You're great at this. Don't worry about any of that. You do a fantastic job. Just let her, he should have just let her vent and just work through that conversation with her. And that way she came out on the other side in a positive way, knowing that Jeff had her back.
Yeah.
And he wasn't telling her to go, do the slap down on the doctor the next day when she got to work. It's like, that's a good way to get fired.
Yes.
So yeah. So accessibility, can you be reached? When your spouse talks to you, are you really listening? Are you really trying to understand your spouse and what they're trying to convey to you in that moment? And if you don't understand that, you need to work on it. You need to practice what it takes to make sure that your conversations are fulfilling and that both of you are getting the conversation between each other that you both should be getting.
Yeah.
So the second one is responsiveness. Why don't you share that one with us?
It's not enough to simply notice that your partner is going through something difficult. They also need to know that their emotions matter to you. This starts with responsiveness. When your partner reaches out, respond in a way that shows you value their attempt. If you're in the middle of something and can't engage at that moment, acknowledge them. Say something like, I really want to hear what you're saying. Can we come back to it in an hour? Then make sure you circle back and initiate that conversation. Ignoring or brushing past your partner's efforts to connect sends a clear message of distance and disinterest. Over time, this kind of emotional neglect can cause you to drift into parallel lives, coexisting under one roof without real connection. Responsiveness is rooted in empathy. While sympathy means feeling sorry for someone, empathy goes deeper. It's about being emotionally present with them. It's stepping into their shoes and their experience as best as you can what they're feeling. When Lindsay came home drained and frustrated from her shift, Jeff may have felt sympathetic. He likely recognized she was upset, but instead of leaning in with empathy, he defaulted to advice, offering solutions rather than seeing through her eyes. This is a common trap. Trying to fix rather than fill. Empathy doesn't mean agreeing with every emotion, but it does mean validating the experience. When you sit with someone in their pain, when you respond to their emotional reality, you show them they matter. You tell them, not with words alone, but with presence. What you're feeling is significant to me because you are significant to me. That's the heart of true responsiveness. I love that. That is so good. Very good.
And guys, always remember, I hear this quite often where spouses will say, especially men, my wife is so emotional. I just can't handle it, And they actually kind of make that I don't want to say it's a crutch, but they make it an issue, I guess is the best way to put that. But in all reality, women are made different from men. And in the way that a woman is created, the way that God created her, women are more emotional in nature. They are the more sympathetic. They are very much better at the empathy side of things than men typically are. And so it takes a little bit of extra for us guys sometimes to step up and try to put ourselves in our spouse's shoes, because like it says here, the common thing that we try to do is to fix it. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing we want to jump to, is to fix it and not try to really feel what our spouses are going through. And so as long as we don't understand, like Michelle, if she comes home to me and she's venting on me about something that's happened all day long, and she goes through this whole spiel, she thinks I'm sitting there totally engaged. She thinks I'm sitting there totally listening to everything she says. And she finishes and she's waiting on me to respond. And the first thing that I do is I come back and I start barking all these orders that you need to go back to work tomorrow. You need to do this, you need to do that. I do this and that and whatever. And then I turn and I walk off and go do my whatever I was doing. Would you have felt that I heard one word that you just said?
Absolutely not.
I mean, and that's what most guys do. In all reality, that's what happens a lot of times in relationships between husbands and their wives. Guys don't realize it. A lot of times, I don't think they do it on purpose a lot of times. But as a guy, we don't understand sometimes until this is brought up to the forefront and explained to husbands. I don't think a lot of times men understand how to really properly communicate with a woman when they're emotionally driven. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that's our own fault, because we choose not to dig into who our wives truly are and understand the root and the core of who they are. It's a superficial kind of understanding that we have of our spouses. And so we have to make sure that whenever those conversations take place, anytime that you're having a bad day, and you're telling me what's going on, you're wanting me to soak that up. Yeah. You're wanting me to understand what's been going on with you that day. You're in a bad state right at that moment, you're upset, whatever it may be. And you want to know that I understand why you're going through that. Not that you're stupid for going through that. That's not what you want to hear from me. You want to know that I understand, that I'm going to step into your shoes and try to understand what you're going through. And now, like I said earlier, this conversation may eventually come back around to the wife well, what would you do in this situation? Well, that's an open door to try to help fix it at that point. But don't try to jump into that too soon, because your wife wants to know that she's being heard. And so do us guys. There's times that we want our wives to hear us. It goes both ways. And so make sure that you're hearing first, and then follow the prompts and read between the lines and try to work through that conversation so that both of you are positively fulfilled at the end of it, to know that, that each one of you have each other's back. And is there anything that you wanted to add to that one?
No, I think that one's really good, though. I really, really like that one.
Yeah, this is another good lesson really on communication.
I like the fact that it broke it down on empathy and sympathy.
Yeah. It is hard for guys to show empathy, because a lot of times we don't want to really put ourselves in somebody else's shoes. We're as a guy, our natural, as it says, our natural tendency is to fix things. And so while the conversation's taking place, if somebody's telling us an issue or whatever, the last thing that we're thinking about right now is, I'm going to sit here and feel what you're feeling. I'm going to put myself in your shoes and totally understand this moment. No, the whole time this conversation is going on, my mind's already racing 5 minutes ahead. Okay, I'm going to tell her to do this. I'm going to tell her to do that. This is what I would do. This is what they would do. That's automatically what's populating in my head at the moment. So as soon as you're done talking, that's what I'm going to release. And we have to train our minds not to think that way. Mm-hmm. We have to make sure that we change that. And so the final one here was engagement. And engagement kind of deals with, do I know you will value me and stay close? Engagement involves taking intentional steps to make your partner feel deeply seen, cherished, and emotionally close. It's not about grand gestures, but rather focused attention that communicates, you matter to me above anyone else. Psychologist and relationship expert Dr. Sue Johnson explains that to be engaged means to be drawn in, captivated, and emotionally present. In a romantic relationship, engagement means sharing a kind of attention that you wouldn't give to just anyone. It's a deeper connection reserved for someone that you love. This includes more lingering eye contact, affectionate touch, and making space to be emotionally available. Being engaged is about showing your partner that their presence moves you, that they are a priority and not an afterthought. You engage with your spouse when you recognize their worth and treat them accordingly, placing the kind of value on them as you would for something rare and irreplaceable. It's about showing them through your actions and words that they are the most important person in the room. One powerful way to build engagement is by sharing activities that foster closeness and joint involvement. Whether it's taking a walk together, cooking a meal side by side, or simply setting aside time each day to reflect on your day together, these moments of shared participation help reinforce your bond. As you begin to address the rifts in your relationship, choosing to prioritize engagement-oriented activities can be a powerful step in moving from emotional distance to connection. These shared moments create space for unity and emotional intimacy, helping transform disconnection into renewed closeness. And this one here, I think, is very important as well. And one thing that I've told several people before when I've been talking to them in a marriage mentor moment, when I was mentoring people, guys especially, I would tell them that, when I walk into a room and Michelle is in that room, in my opinion, Michelle is the most important person in there. She's my spouse. I'm super proud of her. She's the one that I raise up above anybody else that's in that room. And every spouse should be that way. And when you look at your spouse and you understand who they are as the person that you've married and the person that you've chose to be with for the rest of your life, that no matter where you go, that spouse should be the most important person, the best person in that room, no matter where you're at. That's the way that you should look at that. And the only way that we can make that happen is to make sure that the engagement that we have between each other is on that level that it needs to be, so that we can totally understand who each other truly is.
Yeah.
And I like this, how some of the ways to do this is like the lingering eye contact or the affectionate touch, the making the space to be emotionally available. Those are some of the first things that go whenever you start having problems in your relationship. Those are the actual things that kind of physically put you guys together. And that's one of the first things that kind of go to the wayside. And so, whenever it comes time to be engaging with your spouse, you need to make sure that every conversation that you have, regardless of what it is, needs to end on a positive note.
Absolutely.
It needs to end on a spot that, okay, I do see you. I do understand what's going on in your life right now. I want you to know that I am here for you.
Right.
Whatever it may take to make sure we get through this moment or through this time, whatever it is, through this season, we should make sure that we have fully engaged in that conversation so that we both feel comfortable and have a resolution in the end of that. So anything you want to add to that one?
No, that's it. Good. It's very good. Good.
Well, I really like this acronym, and I think that, most of you guys out there, if you just make a note of this, you can go back and listen to this episode again. The ARE acronym, being accessible, being responsive, and then engaging with your spouses.
So good.
There's just a lot of material here that you can put into play, I think, that'll help build your relationship to a stronger place. And so definitely some stuff that you need to make note of. So some ways that you can actually, as we close here today, there are some ways here that you can actually put into place that can kind of help with this engagement to make sure that you do stay close to each other and that you do show each other that you're valued. And Michelle, won't you share those with us?
Yeah. One of them is check with your spouse when making decisions and discuss individual plans or activities together. Another one is call your spouse first to talk about your day, to confide in when you're upset, or to share good news. Another is have a weekly date night so you can have fun together. However, make a rule that you won't discuss hot button topics while you're on your date. Another is find a common hobby or shared interests like ride bikes. Another one is prioritize sex. Oxytocin, the hormone that is released after orgasm, increases your feelings of trust and connection. Another one I love, this one, cuddle on the couch when you watch TV and snuggle when you're in bed. My favorite. Another is hang out with a couple of friends. And another is fight to self-reliance. Ask your spouse what he or she needs and tell your spouse what you need. I love that one. The last one is develop a shared dream that you can pursue together.
And all the guys are sitting here going, oh, that sounds like a lot of work.
And it's really not.
That's a big old list.
Cuddle on the couch is not. Hang out with friends, a common hobby.
Yeah, it's got to be done. I mean, this is what it's going to take, and this is what we signed up for when we got married.
Well, it's not just the men; it's women too.
Yeah, both spouses. When we get married, this is what we're signing up for: is to have a intimate, awesome relationship with this other person that we said I do to.
Absolutely,
and that encompasses all of this and more. Again, this is just a small list of what could be a humongous list of things that you could do. These are just some suggestions to kind of get you started. And I guarantee you, if you put a lot of this stuff into play that's in this list, and, several of these things that Michelle and I have, we've made an intention to do. We have bikes that we go ride together. We've kayaked in the past.
Yeah. And I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I crave it.
Yeah.
This is the one thing after working all week. I love spending time with my husband. You're so busy during the week. We do sit and talk, and we do, we try to, I say chitty chat. We try to chitty chat. And if we need to have a hard conversation, we do. But in reality, when it comes to our weekend, I've always told Dan, I'm like, Saturday is our day. Like that is the one day that I love to spend with him, whether it may be watching a Texas Longhorn game, whether it may be riding bikes, whether it may be going antiquing, or just sitting there hanging out outside with the dogs. It fills my cup. Yeah. I absolutely love spending that time with my husband.
Yeah. And those are super important things to do if you want to cherish that relationship that you have.
Right.
And make it grow. And make it become a better place, a safe place.
Yes.
That you can land every week, every day, every moment of your life, and knowing that someone else is there that has your back. So hopefully this week, as we close here, I really hope that over this week and last week, if you have been in this state where you feel like that you're in a home with somebody, but that somebody just seems so far away, but they're actually the person that you married, that's a very bad place to be. You need to work on that. And I hope that this stuff that we've talked about over the last couple of weeks here just touches the surface, really, of the problem, of what needs fixed. And sometimes you may have to go get professional counseling to try to help fix. We do not want to rule that out. Good Christian professional counseling may be somewhere that you need to go, or if your church has a marriage mentorship that might help, maybe look into that as well. But, God created us to have relationships with each other, to have those close, intimate relationships, especially with our spouses. And in order for us to fulfill that calling that He's put upon our life, we need to make sure that we follow His plan and do what He's called us to do as spouses. So keep in mind that rebuilding emotional closeness is a process. It's not an instant solution. It requires patience, purpose, and consistent effort over time. It is work. But the distance and disconnection that you feel now can be replaced with a renewed sense of intimacy and partnership. As relationship coach Barbara Cage once said, love is a partnership of two unique people who bring out the very best in each other and who know that even though they are wonderful as individuals, they are even better together. I think that's a perfect way to end this episode. So the takeaway from this episode is that roommates live separate lives. Soulmates are two connected individuals who are even better together. Do you have anything final to add to this one?
No, I don't. It was a good one.
Yep.
This was so good.
This is an excellent episode. And again, if you guys have anything to add to this, jump on social media.
Yes, please.
Anywhere we have comments, we'd love to hear from you guys. Have an email address, actually. It's on our website at Marriage, Life, and More. There's a form there as well. You can email Daniel at connectingthegap.net. We'd love to hear from you guys if there's anything you'd like to add. And if it's some stuff that we can share in the future, we'd love to do that. So next week when we come back, we're going to be into episode 7, and we're going to talk about some steps to rekindling romance and passion in your marriage. So
excited for that one.
Yeah, this one thing here about engagement, about prioritizing sex and the oxytocin and all that stuff. We might start getting into some of that here as we get on to the next few weeks, as that is a very important part of our relationship as being married couples. So be here for that one. That's going to be next week here on Marriage Life and More. Well, as we go, we pray that your marriage is stronger and your walk with God is closer after this episode. This is an extension of Connecting the Gap Ministries, and we pray that you have a blessed week.